Well, I want to give you a brief tale about the American Revolution in 1776, and it also relates to some of the first treachery done on the American natives in this country. Um, Now, this is not a picture of Chief White Eyes of the Delaware tribes or the Lenape tribes, which was they were basically on the eastern seaboard from northern Virginia up to Maine, but primarily mostly in present day Delaware, New Jersey, and eastern Pennsylvania. But this would have been the type of dress of the Delaware or Lenape Indians. And they were considered by all Native Americans to be the grandfather tribe, the first tribe, the tribe on the eastern seaboard. Now, what is very interesting about this is that the American Revolutionary War of 1776 would have absolutely been lost by the colonists if it was not for the Lenape or Delaware tribes on the eastern seaboard. It is an absolute fact. It's not a guess. It's not a what if scenario. If it was not for the Delaware tribes and Lenape on the eastern seaboard, we would have never been a nation of the United States in the first place. Now, that was an alliance between the colonists and the Lenape. Now, let me just blow this up a little bit here. You can see this is present day New Jersey, South Jersey, particular type of dialect of language of Delaware. Now, this chart is actually not 100% correct because um, somewhat depends on how I think things are defined. The Delaware or Lenape tribes are Lenape tribes are loosely defined as from northern Virginia all the way up to Maine. And I know up in Maine they have the Penobscot Indians also, or Native American Indians. You know, I call it Indians because I've been basically that's what I always thought of it. It's not an insult. I guess it would be really correct to say Native Americans, but Indian is the word we, it doesn't mean anything bad in my mind. I don't know, but these were the Delaware tribes in this area. Now, the reason George, it's in the history books. George Washington's crossing the Delaware River, Valley Forge. Some of these things. You're hearing all this stuff. You're not hearing anything about what the real main force did against the British. You're talking about the guerrilla warfare of the colonists. Well, the guerrilla warfare was really mainly coming from the Native Americans that allied with the colonists against the British. That's where the main forces really were. The ones that actually taught the colonists guerrilla warfare was the Lenape or Delaware tribes in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, northern, Delaware also too. But and well, for instance, like it just would have never happened. We would have never been a country. There's no doubt about it, hands down. Now, what they were supposed to get out of it, this alliance between the Lenape or the Delaware tribes and the colonies, was they were supposed to get a state. So there was 13 original colonies, became the first 13 states of the United States. What was supposed to happen was the Lenape tribes were supposed to get what is present day Ohio. That would have been the 14th state in exchange for their alliance and all their efforts, war efforts against the British on behalf of the colonies. But what happened was that Chief White Eyes, who was the leader of the Lenape, he was murdered by an American militia officer in 1778, a couple years after the Revolutionary, right at the time actually, right at the time the Revolutionary War was won. Died November 1778. So the Revolutionary War was, basically won at that time, and so in order that they would not go ahead and, you know, make good on their end of the bargain, they killed the chief. But this was all hushed because they did not want to break any alliances with the Lenape Indians. Now, the other thing is the Lenape, many of the Lenape had already converted to Christianity, which I don't know if that's good or bad in my book. I'm not sure, but that's supposedly something whereby it really gives a little more thought to be Why the hell did these colonists stab him in the back like this, or some colonists stab him in the back like this, when he could have, they could have actually made good on their deal. And well, it's to tell you the truth, it's just the beginning of a long line of freaking treachery by the white man against the American natives in his country. This is where it started. It started right from when the nation formed. Now, I'm not a liberal. I'm not freaking trying to put some twist on anti-white stuff here or anything like that. It's just the way it is. That's just how it is. That's the truth, and you don't like it, you can go shove it. That's all I got to tell you. That's really what it is. Later on, he married the chief. After becoming a chief, Chief White Eyes married Rachel Doddridge. She was a young English colonist. She was a white woman. She was 5 years old when she was captured by the Lenape, but she was taken care of by the Lenape, adopted into the tribe, and she became one of them. So he married a white woman, Rachel Doddridge. She was murdered 10 years after the chief was murdered by the colonists. So I guess she would have been a representative to, make good on the bargain of getting the 14th state, which would be present-day Ohio. So, anyway, it's a pretty sad thing, but I'll tell you what, man. This shit's been going on forever. It's almost like, they've been playing these games all along. So this was the original New World Order, I guess, when they first came over here. The New World Order destroyed America, and it's been going ever since. And now it's going to be out there to destroy the world. Maybe that's one way you can look at it. They also said that Chief White Eyes had contracted smallpox and died during the expedition, but that's not really true. They found out later on it was something else. But even when these American natives contract smallpox, it's not always because they contract smallpox due to just some casual interaction with the Americans, this is I don't know how often this would have happened, or because there's really no way to tell, but I know it has happened sometimes. But American native Indians would be going to trading posts, and what the hell would they be buying that would be important to them? Blankets. So if they're buying blankets, they could be getting blankets that are infected with smallpox, and they'd be using them in the winter, and guess what would happen? They'd die. I know there's been things like that have happened before deliberately, but it may have happened deliberately more often than you think. Again, I'm not some liberal type over here always bashing the whites or something, but I just have to tell you the truth, exactly how it was. That's how it was. This guy was betrayed, and it's not a matter of conjecture. The reason you really know he was betrayed is because the Lenape or Delaware Native Americans never got a state in this country. And again, I'll have to repeat that because it bears worth repeating, that if it was not for them, there would have been no United States of America. Period. So anyway, just going to get on with this here about the assassination claim of the Chief White Eyes. Years later, George Morgan, a U.S. Indian agent trader, former close associate of White Eyes, wrote a letter to Congress claiming that the chief had been treacherously put to death by American militia in Michigan. Later documentation confirmed that White Eyes had been killed by an American militia officer on November 5th, 1778. Morgan had helped negotiate with Native Americans in the Fort Pitt area, so was closely involved in these matters. He also wrote that the murder of White Eyes had been covered up to prevent the Lenape Indians, or American Native Indians, from abandoning the revolutionaries, which they would have, and guess what would have happened then? Would have been part of the UK, and forget about the Constitution and all the freedoms, or whatever kind of freedoms we got over here left. White Eyes' British Lenape wife, Rachel Doddridge, was reportedly murdered by white men in 1788. So, I just got to bring this out because, if it wasn't for the Delaware Native Americans, or Lenape, I don't know why those two terms are used interchangeably, but they're basically referring to, it's not that simple what I'm saying here, because there was a lot of various tribes, but they're kind of like put together as the Delaware from Northern Virginia all the way to Maine. Even though, like in Maine, you might have the Penobscot Indians, and like here you have um, various tribes in here, but they're still all the Delaware. Pretty interesting. You also have the Hackensack. That's a tribe Indian. Hackensack, New Jersey. The Raritan River, New Jersey. That's about the you also have Minisink. That's around there. So, um, but it's quite interesting. Susquehannock, that's another tribe. It's the Susquehanna River. That's Indian word, obviously, or American Native word. But treachery against the American natives has gone on since the beginning. If it wasn't for them, we'd not be a nation. We would never have had the Declaration of Independence. Would have just been a piece of paper, done. The Constitution and the Bill of Rights would have just been, a thought. It would have been crushed, demolished, because the British would have won. And then what do we do to give thanks to the American Native Indians? We screw them. And you look at what happened with Geronimo too. Geronimo was the last one. I think it was 1886 when he finally, capitulated, surrendered. He was even betrayed by a lot of his own Apache warriors, and there were scouts that were betraying his position. People were abandoning him. And I'll tell you what, I look at it like this whole deal. Karma's a bitch. What goes around is going to come around. And this is why sometimes I think the United States of America is going to be on the road to total destruction. As a matter of fact, if you look at the military site, I don't know how accurate this would be, but it's a military site called Deagle.com, www.deagle.com. By the year 2025, they estimate that the population of the United States, which is currently at 313 million, is going to drop to 64.9 million. That is not a conspiracy site. It's a military site that estimates future GDP and military strengths and population levels of countries. The reason they say that population is going to drop that bad, it's going to be due to the total implosion of the government due to debt, because we know we're already at $19 trillion debt. It's probably going to hit the point of, I don't know what, maybe it's not going to, maybe not happen for a few years, but sometimes I think about those things because what I look at, some of the stuff, it's not like everything the whites did were bad. Not everything the American natives did is good. I know there's a lot of Native American Indians like the Cheyenne, the Apaches, and what is it? The Comanches and the Sioux were pretty damn warlike. They didn't take no prisoners, basically, too much, right? But what the white man did to this country, it's probably going to come around full circle, and it's going to turn out that there's going to be a major problem here. I don't know if it's going to be as extreme as Deagle.com puts out, but like I said, it's not a conspiracy site. Maybe at one point in time we will revert to 64.9 million. And I can tell you that at the time this country was founded, not the country, but at the time Christopher Columbus discovered the New World, 1492, they estimated there was between 20 to 80 or more million people just in the area that's present day lower continental 48 states in the United States of America. And guess what? That would pretty much put it into the ballpark back where Deagle.com has. And you know what? I think the only way you're going to survive from then on is to go back and adopt the way of the American Native Indians. And you know what? That's something they've been thinking about for a long time. So anyway, maybe the ghost dance that they've been having for many years, and when the ghost dance became popular and later outlawed, it will come out and have its effect in this country by basically wiping out the people that are garbage and only leaving the ones that want to adopt the Native American Indian ways. It's not a perfect world that the Native American Indians lived in, but in a lot of ways it was a world that could be maintained in perpetuality because today, the complexity of today's society, it's just so much bullshit, it's beyond belief. So that's my commentary on this stuff. Some, food for thought, because when you betray a people that You know, and this is the prick that betrayed him right here is one of the pricks, General McIntosh. When you betray a people here, and you keep doing it, and you keep doing it, and you keep doing it, don't think that it's not going to come back on to haunt you later on. It will come back. So anyway, but anyway, keep the faith, and it just goes to show you that you know, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Anyway, Chief George White Eyes, he's the guy, and you know, the American colonists screwed him. They screwed him because, and without the Lenape or Delaware tribes to conduct military guerrilla warfare against the British, without them knowing the land as well as they knew it, because the colonists didn't know the land the way the American natives knew it, we would have never won the war. We would have never been anything. And somehow I notice injustice is going to be remedied, and I think the way it's going to be remedied is going to be the fall of the United States of America. And we're going to go back to the ways of the American Native Indians again. So that's what I take on it. So anyway, food for thought.